So what we need to do is have about this much space, side to side, and then front and back. And that'll kind of get you in the general ballpark. There might be a few times where you need to adjust where we're at. Everything we start with, though, it's going to be kind of in the space that you occupy. Once we kind of keep building upon, kind of like the language, we have an alphabet, individual letters, you put it together for words, sentences, paragraphs, eventually books and volumes, right? So we'll start off with the simple stuff that doesn't require much effort, much space, but then the next thing will build upon that, and the next thing will build upon that. Come on in. So again, we'll just adjust the spacing. What will probably end up happening is, we'll end up staggering a little bit. So, So again, we're a friendly group. If you need to move or adjust, don't be offended. You put your hand in someone's face. So I am very much, there's a lot of detail. I like to teach with a lot of detail, and that's by design. Some teachers will say nothing, and they'll say just follow along. Others will talk and explain. Some will over-explain. I try to find that balance. But what we're trying to do, if Tai Chi is all about the mind and the body, there's got to be a process to make that happen. Okay? You go to the gym, you move your arms and legs. You go swimming, you move your arms, your legs. A lot of that's very physical, and the thought comes with it, right? Well, with this, you want to have your thought more so than the physical part, if that makes sense. So I'm going to give you details of body alignments and postures and things you're going to try to do that's going to occupy your thoughts. So anybody eat dinner yet? You got traffic on the way here, the weather, looking at the stock market today, politics, weather, all kinds of stuff floods our... I'm sorry?
All the above.
Yeah, all that stuff floods our brain constantly. And a lot of it's in a loop. You know, weather, finance, social stuff. You know, it's like it's a loop. So hopefully when I show you this stuff and I try to get you engaged in doing it, you start to tune into your body instead of all that stuff. And it gives you a break. It's like mental fasting, if you will. You're taking a break from that stuff. So here we go. Let's get started. And if you have questions at any point, interrupt and ask. Okay, this isn't just me talking. By the way, my name is Jim. So, hey Jim, what are we doing over here? If you have a question, just ask. So we start with our feet together and our arms at our side. So this is the anatomical position, right? Just nothing going on. Everything starts from here. Sink your hips and separate your legs. Shift a little bit from one side to the other and shift a little bit forward and back. Try to feel where your center of gravity is at. And for the most part, it's about 3 fingers below your navel and midway from front to back. So the side to side, I can feel like my navel's pretty centered. If I'm standing like this, I'm not in touch with what my body's doing because I'm not in line. So I want to be about here, right? And then front and back. You don't want to be all on the front of your foot. You don't want to be all on the back of your foot. Center of gravity, somewhat between the toes and the heel. Okay, let's go. Everything starts from the top once we get this part with our hips sunk and our feet apart because that's our anchor. I'm going to raise my arms, and as if I'm making a big heart shape, like a Valentine heart shape, and the point comes in front of the real heart. And then we push down. So the shape is kind of like a heart-shaped lollipop, if you will, a lollipop with a heart on a stick. So we're going to expand our lungs and chest, and then close our chest by means of opening up our arms and shoulders. So, okay, everything's going to start at the top. Our hands are up, our chin is up. Arms come down, chin comes slightly down. So wherever our chin goes helps dictate the alignment of our spine. If you have your head like this all day long, your spine is going to start to adjust to that because your spine likes to stay straight, but we throw it off with posture and jobs and different activities, right? So chin up helps me to arch my lower back. Chin down helps me to arch and round the whole spine. So what I'm talking about is right here. Arch, that helps us to breathe in deep, and then slightly round that same area. And it all comes from your chin being up or down. You might hear things crackling, snap, crackle, pop in your ears when you're doing this, right? So again, everything was at the top with the hands, the chin, and then dropping. Let your eyes relax. Try not to focus on those lights, just kind of, no. Let your eyes get heavy and your focus a little bit soft. So if I was looking across the room, I only remember one person's name right now, Jeremy, I can't focus hard enough to see. There's a logo on your shirt right here, but I can't see it, and I don't care to. That's how I want my eyes to be relaxed. You got something on your shirt, I can see it, it's easy. So let your eyes relax. And when you do that, you take the tension off of your eyes, the optic nerve. That's your nervous system. So hopefully everybody's breathing as we're doing this. You breathe in when you expand. You breathe out when we contract. So everything again at the top. Your eyes are relaxed. You're trying to breathe through your nose. As much as you can, breathe through the nose. Filtered warm air helps us to breathe deeper. Inhale. Exhale. All right, still working our way down. So when my arms go up, my tongue goes up to the roof of the mouth. Arms down, tongue goes to the bottom of the mouth. So if your mouth is like a gate, you got the top, the bottom. Your tongue goes up and down. It's like a switch going up and down each time. So if you squish the tongue to the roof of your mouth, that activates your saliva glands. And then the tongue drops, saliva flows. And you keep doing that, it keeps your mouth moist as we're doing this. So again, everything was at the top, but we're starting to work our way down. When I get in front of my heart, I'm going to try to push down and pull back on the abdomen muscles. Relax the stomach, the abdomen, when you breathe in. Squish. Pull those muscles back when you breathe out. So right about here, there's an umbrella-shaped muscle, the diaphragm. The more you move the stomach, the more the lungs move and you draw the air deeper into your lungs. So you've heard about shallow breathing, and shallow breathing not being too good. Well, moving the diaphragm is deep breathing. And you'll hear people say that too. Take a deep breath, take a deep breath. Usually when people ask you to take a deep breath, you don't. You're like, what do you mean take a deep breath? I am relaxed, I am comfortable. So when I ask you to do this, try and just let it go. Almost like here, there's a ball here. And then squish the ball, pull it back. All right, we keep working our way down. Your thighs were bent from the beginning. Shift the weight forward on the ball of your foot. Shift back towards your heel. So you'll see this wave of movement, starting with the hands, going to the shoulders, to your hips, down to the ankles and toes. All right, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. All right, keep doing that on your own 1 or 2 times because I need to turn on my music. Now that it's so quiet in here, I got everybody's attention. We're going to put a little soft background music into play here. Oh, listen to that. All right, so we're going to do a couple more of these. If you noticed, you've already slowed down your breathing tremendously if you were following my pace there. So if I take about 4 seconds to breathe in, 4 seconds to breathe out, you just cut your normal breathing in half, frequency-wise. Usually we breathe about 15 to 18 breaths per minute. When we're working, when we're socializing, when we're stressed, it goes up to 18. Just thinking about your breathing, like when we started this, you probably got it down to about 10. 10 breaths per minute and slower tricks your nervous system into thinking you're more relaxed than you are stressed. And now we're probably down to about maybe 7 breaths per minute. So that's really good. It's like we're still moving, still exercising, but our body thinks that we're sleeping. And it's time to regenerate and calm. So we're going to do 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Just like a wave of movement from the top of our body all the way down to our feet. To finish this up, we're going to do a slapping or splashing motion and then come up to make a W shape with your palms up and turn your neck and chin up towards the top, like where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then chin in front and then down with your chin. We'll do the same thing to the right. Splash, a little bit of a flick with your hands, like you're grabbing that ball and then pushing it down. One more time, splash, flick, look straight up. And then try to look straight down. So that's how we'll finish any of the particular sets. It's like the finish, it's like closing the door, ringing the bell, it's like a signal. Time to finish that and let it go, move on to the next thing. But it's really a good exercise because all these little pieces and parts are parts of Tai Chi and maybe some of self-defense movements for other things. We're not doing any self-defense. For Tai Chi, there's different branches of why people would practice it. The first one is it's fun. It's like, oh, just something to do, an activity, a hobby. But it's exercise, right? So that's physical development. You also have mental development, stress, and relieving stress, maybe becoming more aware of yourself. You have spiritual development, which is when it's considered like a moving meditation, and that's about self-awareness. We're not talking about God or higher power or anything. We're talking about being aware of yourself and on some level, maybe having some purpose to what you do. And you do Tai Chi, and that might help you find that. And then there's healing. Like you have issues, it's like my neck's been bothering me. Tai Chi is a good thing, makes my neck feel better, my back. And then there's self-defense, health, mental stress, awareness, healing. So that's 5 of them. Everybody doing good? Any questions so far? So we're going to move into what's called a series of exercises where we kind of link things together. So again, if we started with our feet together, I sink down, try to make the effort with your ball of your foot to make a half circle. And now I'm shoulder width apart. And then again, I shift left, right, a little bit forward and back. You'll see me occasionally do little gestures like this with my neck and shoulders. It's not a nervous tic. It's actually me trying to release more tension. I can feel tension in my neck and shoulders, and I can feel the connection really from the top of my head down to my feet. So occasionally I'll just do that little stretch. If you feel so inclined, do it too. But don't mimic me, like Jim went to the right, Jim went to the left. It's you feeling, yeah, my neck needs to pop or shoulder needs to move a little bit. So here we are, feet shoulder width. Some of this I will do facing you. Occasionally I'll turn the opposite direction so you get the different views. So if this is coming up to about shoulder height, I'm going to come back down to about waist high. So like a moment ago, I had you shifting with the ball of your foot and your heel. So some of you were getting a little bit aware of your stability and your balance. So here, my arms reach a little bit up and forward. My weight goes to the ball of my foot. I go down and back. The weight goes to my heel. So again, here's that wave of movement up and down the spine. Chin slightly up, chin slightly down. So this is the opening and closing movement or exercise for almost all of the different Tai Chi forms and sets. And there's a lot of them. Just off the top of my head, I'm going to say there's like 30, because there's different styles and different functions for why you would practice one style over the other. So what we're going to do next, so if this is, like I said, up and down, but it's also forward and back, we're going to spin like a big wheel or a ball, and then we shift our weight to the left leg. The hands are going to switch position so that the opposite one is high and the other one's low. My other hand comes to my navel. So then I come back to the center. Bring your hands back to the center. Here's where you're going to start wondering, like, am I in a mirror? Which hand should be where? You're going to shift to your right, and the hands will again switch. So this is kind of like you're holding, like a handful of sand, and it's just kind of falling through your fingers. And then we come back to the center and back down. So you're going to hear me talk about a ball or a ball shape quite often, okay? Because it's easy to kind of imagine that ball, and it gives you something to think about. And then it's like, oh, got to find the ball. So here we got this ball. It's kind of like I'm rolling the ball, And before it gets too far away, I start rolling it back, like a big yoga ball, right? And then I catch the ball, nose and my thumb line up, my pinky fingers by my navel, and I shift, and then that ball just got squished. And I put the ball over here. Come back to the ball, equal weight, shift to the right. Hand goes to the right. Back to the center, roll the ball down. So does anybody have any ideas how many exercises we just did? There's 5. So just like I said, there's like 5 branches, 5 different ways that we could practice Tai Chi. 5 is a good number when it comes to balance. Any of the geometrical shapes are balanced, right? Square, circle, triangle, it's all can balance, right? So you're going to see a lot of geometry start to come up with this. Hopefully you did okay with geometry in school, but if not, you'll figure it out as we do this, right? So this is 1, we call that push. 2, pull. 3 is shift to the left. 4 is the exact same thing, shift to the right. 5 is the center. All right, everybody following this so far? So I gave you a number. I gave you an action. We got a push, a pull, a shift, right? So there's going to be a natural phenomena theme. So poking is going to be like a spear. You're poking metal. Pulling is wood, like tension on a tree branch. This shift from the feet, pushing into the ground to shift your hips and eventually move your arm is water, like water flowing. Opposite of water is fire. Coming to the center, being centered, being grounded, that's earth. So those are the 5 elements that are in traditional Chinese medicine and also in Ayurveda, if you're familiar with these other medical type modalities. So there's some logic here why we're doing this. So each of these elements has its own purpose, right? Poking, pulling, shifting. You can kind of see the water element there. Fire kind of flickers. Earth becomes grounded, stable, solid. So hopefully everybody's been breathing as we're doing this. Don't hold your breath. But this would be inhale, light as a feather. Exhale, heavy as lead. Nothing changed. It's just my perception of how I'm feeling about my arms. Moving like water. My hand's about level with my nose because it comes back to my nose. And then when it shifts over to here, fire, that's level with my nose too. Shoulder high. Down. Okay, let's keep doing this again, a couple more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, push your feet, shift your waist. Arms and hands are last as you exhale. Inhale, kind of like as if that ball was your breath, a ball of air. Exhale as you gently squish and twist. Inhale. Exhale. So if we were in a pool with water up to our necks, our arms would be more buoyant and able to move freely, and you wouldn't be doing like choppy movements like that because the water would give you resistance, right? So the theme of Tai Chi really is water. The whole thing is water, even though I just gave you wood, metal, fire. It's a water-themed form or system because there's other systems that do the same thing that are different. And one of them is called Bagua or Bagua Chang. And that's all about moving in circles. I'll just give you a little demonstration. It's circles and spirals. And then you walk in a circle. And then you do all these little hand gestures. And it's all about coiling. Like a tornado or wind. Not like that. This is all about water. Tai Chi is waves, water. Occasionally it hits rocks and it kind of pops up in the air and settles down. So when I start showing you the next couple parts, you're going to see, oh, now I kind of know what Jim's talking about. Any questions so far? So what we just did was really a lot about our feet and having stability in the lower body. Stability to go forward, backward, and side to side. So what we just did, that's called the 5 root, like a tree root. and you're growing roots into the ground from your feet. All right, so that'll make sense as we start to do more of this stuff. So if we go from here, I'm going to shift. Anytime I do a shift, we create what's called a post. From my shoulder to my hip to my knee to my foot is very solid and stable, like a fence post. This foot is kind of free to move because this is the post, right? So after I shift, this hip turns 45 degrees towards this corner. Push off that front foot. Now my weight in the post is my left leg. This foot's free to move. We'll call this empty stance because it's empty. There's no weight on it. I call it cat stance too because you can do like a little scratchy thing, you know. So there's a lot of animal themes that go with this stuff too. So let's try this again. We were just here, feet together, nothing going on. Sink, draw a little half circle and try to feel that you're shoulder width. Don't look down every single time. Try to feel that you're shoulder width. Shift to the right, turn the hip. Shift to the left, take the weight off this foot. So I'm going to move up a step or so here. So if we were to crouch down a little bit, so my weight's very stable on that left side, take your heel. Place your heel out by what would be your left shoulder and then your right shoulder. And then shift your weight onto that foot. So we got this foot straight. This other one is about a 45-degree angle. And if you look at it from this view, I have a road in the middle. If I was standing like this, now there's no road, I'm on a tightrope. So these little tiles here kind of give you a good example. Try not to be on the same line with your feet. Try to be a couple apart, like maybe 3 of those tiles. So now you have a triangle in 2 different directions. From your view, looking at me, you got a bit of a triangle here. So that gives you stability front and back. From this view, here's the triangle coming from my waist. So I got some stability side to side. Okay, why don't we stand up? I can talk, like I said. Teaching you it the first time, it's like, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on. Remember when I said you're not going to be thinking about the stock market or anybody thinking about that when you're doing this stuff? So here's where you start to get into like, why do people want to practice this stuff? The mind, right? It's like I can do physical stuff. I was at the gym before I was here. I do gym, the gym for Stairmaster and some weight training, but I do 90% of this stuff because if I can do mental exercises, I can do a lot of things with my body. If I'm doing mostly physical muscle exercises, my mind can wander. There are people at the gym doing leg press with their phone, scrolling through it, and I was just like, not my deal. Keep doing what I'm doing. Get in, get out. I knew I was going to be coming over here. So anyway, it's a mental-based exercise system. So all of this stuff that we're doing, thinking about your body, if you can get in the habit of, feet together, feet apart, feet turned, no weight, all that mental energy going into your body is more positive than all that other stuff that goes through our ears, right? But here's where you can start to actually manage and monitor your own emotions. So I'm stressed out. Okay, I got a lot of stuff going on. If I start doing these exercises and focusing on the body and what I'm supposed to be doing, all that anger and stress and stuff just kind of goes away for a while. So the more you can manage all the details of your body, you can start to monitor your own emotions a lot better. So it's how it works. Fix your body first, your mind will follow. Your mind protects your body protects your mind. They work together. That's the yin-yang shape that you probably have seen many times, right? This has a lot of yin-yang stuff going on in it. So just to give you a little example, opposites, it's not just always black and white, but we have an up. If you have an up, there's going to be a down. If you have one knee bent, the other's going to be straight. One hand's high, one hand's low, one's far, one's near. It's all opposites. Opposite side, same thing. We got the top, we got the bottom. You got the ball of your foot, you got the heel. So that's really an important thing because it's always going to be like switching up and down, left and right, in and out as we do this stuff. So we just did this side thing, right? All of that got us to here, empty stance. And then this is what we call a bow stance. It's a bow because It's like if you had a bow and you're going to shoot an arrow, you pull it back and you have some stability with your legs. If you're going to draw a bow and you stand like this, you're not going to have a lot of stability to pull back whatever weight that arrow is going to be, right? So here we have stability, forward and back. Take your hands, and here's that ball again, nose and navel. Bring it in front a little bit, and as you turn it, my top hand's going to be level with my nose, my bottom hand is level with my heart. So it's like you were in this position, pray, everybody knows what the prayer position is, right? And then you split it. Your shoulders relax. So that's really the first step that we do here. All of this gets us to this. So that's one. Look at my hands now. They kind of splash like you're flicking water. And then as I shift my weight to my back leg, the arms drop down to my left side. All right? So here's what the feet are going to do. Once we're here, they're just going to do this. The feet push, even though you don't see them, they're pushing. The hips move, and it's just a forward and backward motion. That's a wave, kind of rocking back and forth, right? So if this is up and out, this is down and back. So now I got this hands make this ball shape again. You find your wristwatch or your pulse. On the way back, see how I got my shoulder leaning far, and then my elbow, and then I uncoil my spine and my hands press. So let's come back to the first part. We were here. This is like you're keeping something away from you. This is like you're rolling a ball back. It's called literally roll back. This is a shoulder bump, an elbow poke, and then you press your wrists against each other. So let your arms drop. Shift your weight to this back leg. This leg is light enough to turn. Up, I didn't get there close enough, so now I just cheat and I get my feet 45 degrees to the corner. There's a lot of cheating going on when you first do this, because it's like you don't know where exactly you should be. It's like, I didn't get in the right spot. That's okay. The Tai Chi police are not knocking at our door. Nobody's going to haul you away. So you just adjust. Oh, okay, my feet are on the corner. Shift the weight. Here's that empty stance. Here's the nose and navel. Sink down. Let your heel go. It's like a little half circle because it went from my right side to my left side. So now the hands are going to do the same thing over here. 1, 2. So I shifted back. The hands will make that circle. Find your pulse. It's a shoulder bump, an elbow poke, press with the wrists. I want to go back. So forget about your arms. Shift your weight to this hip. This one's light to turn. Okay, I got one foot on the corner. My left one needs to cheat a little bit. So we're back to this one. Remember what it's called?
Empty stance.
Empty stance. There's not going to be a quiz. I'm not going to call you guys, hey, you, what's that one called? This is a follow-on class, plus it's an introductory class, so I don't expect you to remember a lot because I'm teaching you a lot of stuff. All right? There's a lot of stuff going on here. So again, we go from here. Here's the ball, nose and navel. Crouch down, hover, plant the heel, shift the weight. Arms come along at the end. When I shift back, my arms come along at the end. When I shift forward again, arms are at the end. So now watch what happens. I take this here, and my hands do kind of like a flick again, like flicking water. And my hands come back to my hips, and then up and out to push. All right, so we're going to turn. See how when I turn, I got all the weight on that left leg, all the weight on the right leg. Adjust the feet, cheat if you need to. Empty stance. Hands are at the nose and navel. So this is really like a little hover. Feet, waist, hands. On the way back, I push my feet, I shift my waist, hands at the end. Going back, feet, waist, hands and arms. Hands open, like a little splash, and then push. So this is a ball here too. You see from your view, the side, it's a circle. So I'm pulling, this is actually pulling back and then pushing forward. You can stand up for a moment or two and relax. Everything about Tai Chi really at the basics is either a push or a pull. Anybody know about computers? Binary system, the computers are based upon a 0 and a 1. And then all the fancy things that we can do with computers all come from that. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, movies, videos, all kinds of stuff you can do on a computer. When you get into the programming, it's all a 0 or 1. Tai Chi, it's either a push or a pull. And then many different manifestations of how to do that push and pull. All good? Yes. Any questions, comments, complaints? We always wait until after. We do that in private. So, no, but if you're, you know, something just ain't working, please let me know. It's interaction. It's not just me talking. No. I will talk, but if you don't have questions, then I got to teach. So we're good? So what we just did, we did the 5 root powers for stability of the lower body, right? The last thing we did was 7, we're going to do 8 arm gestures or branches. The way the arms move, it's kind of like branches on a tree. The feet, we always want to have the right spot because we don't want our knees to be like twisted to the side. We don't want to be doing weird stuff with our knee over our toe. We really want to protect our knees a lot. Ankles, you don't hear about people, you know, that much with knee or ankle problems. It's knees, a lot of knee problems with people. And that's because they're not watching where their stability is at. So these movements, the arm gestures, if you get them wrong, not that big of a deal. If your toes, knees, and hips aren't in the right spot, you're doing weird stuff. After today, maybe another time or two, if you decide you want to do this, they'll start getting achy, and you'll wonder why. I love my Tai Chi, feel good, but my knees are bothering me. So got to watch what you're doing with the knees. So we call these the 8 branches or the 8 energies, different types of energy, right? So we're going to do this again a couple more times. So here's our little half circle. Sink, okay, I shift, turn the hip, shift back, and right about here I grab the ball. So everything from here on out is going to be the feet, the waist, and then the arms. Feet, waist, arms. Feet, push, waist shifts, arms. Pull back, push. So if this was like a W shape with our hands, you're in front of like your shoulders, right? So now I'm going to do a turn. I shift my weight. I get my feet in the right spot. My waist sinks. Got to do the hands. Right hand pinches. Your left hand turns towards your face. This is a pulling apart gesture. When we get to about here, I do the same thing. I got the feet. I shift the waist. My hand turns out. And this right here is the signature poster picture of what Tai Chi is. Yeah. You'll see, if you Google Tai Chi and look at images, this is a picture you'll see. So now we do it again. We start with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of this is 8. So again, I'm giving you things to think about here. You got numbers. Number 1 we call ward off. You're keeping something away, you're protecting. Number 2 is roll back, roll the ball. 3 is called shoulder. 4 is called elbow. 5 is called press, because you're pressing your hands against each other at the wrist, and you're pushing with your shoulders, but you relax them. 6 is pull. 7 is push. 8 is splitting. You're splitting your attention, you're splitting your arms apart. Inhale, exhale. Relax, let this flick and roll. Inhale, think about being in the pool, up to your shoulders, your arms are floating. Inhale, exhale. Time to turn, feet, waist, hands and arms, and then it goes again. Feet, waist, hands and arms. Look at that timing. So say we were going to finish this up. We would do this splash, flick, look up and then down. Shift a little bit, feel that you're stable. Same to the right. Splash, flick. Push down as you breathe out. Straight up. Breathe in, like you have the ball here. Bring it down. Lock your knees and elbows just for a split second, and then bend your elbows and knees. Because you don't want to cut off the circulation, pass out. We don't want any of that happening. So what you're doing is you're learning to manage your limbs and your breathing. And through that, all kinds of other cool stuff starts happening. Balance, coordination, timing, and that. Any questions? Because this is your break. You get a little break. It gets a little warm in here once we start moving, right? So you got the air down a little bit. Everybody's doing fantastic, right? I must be a really great teacher if nobody has questions. So do you see how we kind of advanced? We did something that was just one movement or one stationary exercise. It had some different arm movements, right? So it's really one exercise. From there, we went to doing like five exercises. Now we just did 8. So there's a progression. If we just started out with 8 and just right off the bat, you're like, holy cow, there's a lot going on here, Jim. So am I occupying your thought? Am I putting enough stuff in your brain to not think about the stock market dropping 10% in the last week? Not that we have any problems, right? So, yeah. Yeah, so again, I'm giving you a little break here if you need to do that or just take a break and grab something. So that's kind of the basic components of Tai Chi. If you're not doing those things, that's okay, like we're learning this stuff, but really it's kind of like you're learning a language, and if you don't learn the alphabet first, and you just start putting words together, it's kind of hard to do that. So my son went to school for 4 years up at Syracuse. He was on the rowing team, D1 rower. Did pretty good. Bunch of international kids on the team. They came from Italy and Norway. Where else? Australia? Australia doesn't prove my point, but the Italian kids, they didn't speak hardly any English when they came to the United States, and they enrolled in college. Amazing, right? They watched video games when they were at home and then at school, and they learned the American language well enough to take college classes by watching video games. That's a different type of mind development, right? So hopefully with doing this stuff, it gives you a little bit of an idea of the components. You know, those guys that were learning on the video games, they weren't learning the alphabet. They were just jumping right to sentences and paragraphs and phrases and the whole thing. I couldn't do it, but young people, maybe they got that kind of mental capacity.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, when you're young.
I learned German by listening to my stepfather, or my husband's father, on his talks, you know.
Yeah.
On his letters to us.
I'm going to turn this down just a notch here. So yeah, you know, obviously there's different ways to learn. It's like, which path do you want to learn the easiest? Easy isn't always better, but you know, just learning things the hard way isn't always better either, too, right? So what we got were the letters and some words, and then we're going to put together some of these things into a bit of a set, where it goes from instead of 8, then there's 24. We're not going to do all of it. Not enough room really for it to do it all like in one shot today. Plus, you're not going to be able to remember it that much anyway. So hopefully for today, this is an introduction. It gets your feet wet a little bit, for one, to what Tai Chi is, if you never did it before. And then 2, who's this guy? You know, why is Jim teaching this stuff? So I started when I was 16. I'm 61 right now. I'm teaching classes 3 days a week, mostly daytime classes in Winter Park. I've been doing lectures for the last, well, been doing lectures forever, but in the last 6 months, I started doing more of them with the University Club and City of Winter Park and some other places, talking about holistic health, how to manage stress, how to change the chemistry of your body through your breathing, all the things that you do when you're practicing Tai Chi. So again, this is an introductory, kind of getting your feet wet so you decide, yeah, this is something I want to do. And then I guess we got to talk at some point and say, you know, we're going to do this. Got to do it if you're going to get the benefits from doing it. It's kind of like eating salad. You know, you go out to a restaurant and one time I'm going to eat healthy. Give me that salad, you know, and then the next day you're eating burgers or, you know, whatever, going to Chick-fil-A. It's kind of the slow burn. You know, if you eat salad over the course of the month, a couple times, it's probably going to help your digestion and other things, right? So practicing this 1 day a week with me, you're going to get 1x development. If you can practice it and do it on your own, and you remember what we did, and then you're going to get 2x, 3x. You're going to get that much more benefit from it. Yes?
Do you have a video?
I do. I have tons of videos. So I have books. So I've published about 30 books. I got them in the car, maybe a couple in my bag there. I wasn't going to bring in all the stuff because I didn't know what the interest was for who's coming today. But I have some guides that I do sell that are about the history and the steps and all this kind of stuff, why the breathing is important, all that stuff. I'm not worrying about that today. I just want to know if you folks are interested in doing this on a regular basis. So, one day a week here, that's a start. If you can make it to my daytime classes, some of you guys work, I know that's not possible. So maybe we have other options, doing it another day or something like that. But we got to start today, and at the end of the class, that'll be the question that I'll ask you, and maybe Dr. Sean will ask you. It's like, do you guys want to commit to doing this so we can have a class and do it on a regular basis? So
my answer is yes.
yeah. Hopefully you like my style of teaching. I try to make it comfortable and a little bit of education that goes with it. It's not just the movements. I start getting into some of the anatomy and physiology of it. There's definitely some philosophical stuff that goes with it too. But I can only talk so much during an hour class. So it's like, it's got to be more of a physical class with a little bit of pepper, as opposed to talking all the time, Jim, can we get moving? So if this wasn't the introductory class, I would have got you guys moving again by now. But just kind of giving you an opportunity to ask questions if you have them. So
like anything else, you got to do it.
You just got to do it. You're going to eat that salad, you got to do it on a regular basis.
I liken this to line dancing, and I can't dance, okay? But there's movements that you do in unison, and you got to practice them. I'm a horrible dancer.
So let me share a little secret with you. So I can do Tai Chi. I've been doing Tai Chi, legitimate Tai Chi, for 25 years. I've been doing martial arts and other types of similar movements, Qigong, martial arts stuff, for close to 43 years now. I don't like to dance, but doing this stuff, I can dance. You know what I mean? It's the coordination, it's all there. You want to see a little demonstration of a different set that we might do like months from now? Yeah, let's see what you're going to do, Jim. So this is all about making the bones and the joints stronger. It is not Tai Chi. So that is not Tai Chi, but it has Tai Chi components to it. It's martial arts yoga. It's not on the ground. It's not doing the stretching on the ground. It's holding static postures to build strength, stability in the nervous system, in the bones and muscles. Very cool stuff. If you can do that set, practicing Tai Chi is very easy as far as the coordination, having strength in your legs and things like that. So down the road, if, again, folks are interested in it, we have a few options.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would you suggest shoes more like you have than barefoot?
I suggest you do my class as much as you can, and then you'll find out what's comfortable for you. You guys are figuring out right now, if you've been doing other exercise stuff barefoot, you're comfortable with doing that, it works for you. If you find yourself sweating while we're doing this, even though it's kind of slow movement, if your feet are getting slippery on a floor like this, that might not be the best. So these shoes have next to no support.
Yeah.
I really like them for that reason, because I can feel everything that my foot does. When I talk about the toes and the heel, I can feel my toes and heel very comfortably. If you have a pair of track shoes on, too much support, sometimes it dulls that. These are called Olukai, O-L-U-K-A-I. They're from Hawaii, probably made somewhere in Asia, but they're Hawaiian shoes. You get them at REI and Amazon and stuff. Kung Fu shoes, I don't know if any of you folks have those or ever seen those. Again, they have like no support, cost about $30 on Amazon. They're really good for this kind of floor, because you can turn and they're very light and you can bend your toes. You know, you can bend your ankles and stuff. By the way, not everybody can do that, I found out. So I can do that.
I'm not going to try.
No, and some of you might not want to do it. But the shoes won't, like I'm demonstrating, there's no support. It won't stop me from doing that. So when we start doing some of the steps where you have to adjust your center of gravity and you start to balance on one leg, that will start to answer your question, what kind of shoes you need to wear. All right? Why don't we do that real quick, just so you guys can see, just kind of jump into the balance stuff. So say we were going to, again, start from here with our feet shoulder width, shift to the side. So that's an empty stance with our foot to the side. A moment ago we did it with the foot like 45 degrees, right? So that's an empty stance. So from here, if I have my weight on my right leg, then we start lifting this leg up. And you can see if you can get higher. The goal would be to get it waist high, and then you point your toes next to your kneecap. And if the knee is bent that you're standing on, that gives you a little bit of like a shock absorber, but also stability, because the thigh is now charged. The thigh muscles, the hamstrings, the buttocks, they're engaged. If you try to balance with your leg locked, it's like taking a pencil and trying to balance a pencil on the end. It can't happen, right? So you sink, and then you try to lift. So right there, you might notice, oh, okay, I can do that, Jim. I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. Great, wonderful. Let's try the other side. Oftentimes, one side is better than the other. You can see, oh, okay, my right side is a little bit better than the other side. So that just gives you a little mental indication of something that down the road you're probably going to have to work on a little bit.
Right-handed, that's why.
I'm left-handed.
Oh, I am too. I thought maybe it was because you're right-handed.
No. But most of the martial arts movements, when I first started learning them, were based upon right-handed movements because the people were right-handed for, a big majority of the people. So I adapted. All right, this has been a long break. You guys all good?
Yeah.
I answered a couple questions, gave you time to kind of regroup if you needed to, and let those thoughts come back into your head about stuff we don't want to worry about. So the next thing, we're going to do kind of like a couple steps of the series. So we'll again start the same way with our feet together, but I'm going to ask you all to move a step, maybe or so to your right, because when we start stepping, it's going to go to the left a few feet here. So again, I sink. The whole idea of the half circle, you try to do a little half circle without looking, and then you set your heel down, your foot, and you ball your foot, so you feel without having to look each time. So it's, again, another level of self-awareness. If every time you got to look, there comes a point, it's like, well, why are you looking? You know where your foot's at. So you start to get that feel. Okay, little half circle, I can feel. We shift forward. Like I said, everything starts with that movement. That's kind of like our opening. So now I'm going to do this post, turn the right foot, turn the feet both to the left. There's the empty stance. Here's the nose and navel like we did. Here's that foot hovering into the bow stance. So the first exercise we're going to do is this. That hand coming to the side, like I said, a handful of sand. It's about level with the nose. The other hand, it was level with my navel, but now it's on my side. So when we did it earlier, it was kind of like this. Remember when we did the 5 beginning things? Now we have bow stance. Our shoulders are square with the left wall. And this right hand comes to the side. Bring your feet together. Turn them towards the corner, this corner. Let them separate. Sink into the empty stance. These hands, where they were at, they're going to come to that ball and find your pulse. So right here, I'm going to do this idea again of my shoulder, my elbow, and my hand, kind of like as if I was doing this. Shoulder, elbow, hand. I'm trying to make a wheel, like on its side, spin. Shoulder, elbow, wrist. The hands split. This hand stays by my face, by my forehead. This other hand does this gesture of moving to the left side here. All right, let's try this again. So there's names that go with this, and that's helpful so that I don't have to explain every single detail each time we do it. Like if I say cat stance and I go feet apart, shoulder width, pivot, take the weight off your foot. That's like four different instructions. But if I say go to empty stance, you kind of know that's it. So in psychology, they call that chunking. And that's why you can remember your phone numbers, like from 20 years ago, better than today, because your phone just, you just hit the person, and it's like dial, right? So chunking, you can remember the numbers in chunks. That's a better way to remember this stuff. So all of this is the opening. All of this, cat stance, bow stance, or empty stance, I'm sorry, into the bow stance. All of this is called now part the horse's mane. And if you can picture a big horse standing here, and you're kind of like using your hand to pull the mane away, and the other hand's kind of straightening it. And it comes by your side. Feet come together, turn to the corner, sink into that empty stance, find your pulse. So right here, here's a ball in front of my chest. I just made a ball. Let that ball spin. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, and now it splits. And then it splits again. So we call this thing right here, white crane spreads its wings. It's like a bird flapping its wings, right? So let's try that again, but we're going to move back a couple steps again. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Feet, waist, arms. And the arms on this one have a little bit more going on. All right? So now I take this foot again, and I do another one of those bow stances. Some of you are going to be running out of room, so you're going to have to do a little scoot back. So this hand that was up by my face, it does what we call an in block. And then it drops, and then the other arm does an in block. And then that right arm comes from behind to your ear, and this other one does this gesture down here. And then we push. So let me stand up again for a moment here. Anytime you see this kind of gesture, for me, I think of being at the beach. I'm playing in the sand with my kids, and I'm moving sand around. So we call that brush knee. Brushing past your knee. Anytime we'll do the next thing here, that push with the hand, that's a push, right? So again, there's names to each different part if you can remember them as we do it. This, opening, closing. All of this, even with the feet, is part the horse's mane. So some of you might be doing this. I'm not saying anybody, but don't have your spine over here. Really, we want our hand over our foot, our elbow over our knee. Most importantly is the shoulders over our hips. Not this. All right? Your hands can be off a little bit, but try to keep the shoulders over the spine. When we come up to here, catch the ball. My spine is like a spring. It was wound up, and now it unwinds. And then I split, and I split again as I do. So that was a brush knee, but again, the whole thing together, white crane spreads its wings. Set your foot down. So I'm going to adjust a little bit. There's two of these, 1, 2, and then reach behind. So now these are like a pair. They move together. When the one comes to your ear, the other goes by your elbow, and we end up over here. So your spine might feel a little twist, or your neck, or your shoulders. Bring your feet together again. Empty stance again. In block again. Your other hand is going to go like a strumming motion. And the other hand ends up by your elbow. We call that strum the guitar. And you take your toes and then to your heel. And then we start it over again. So, not that anybody wants to come up in the front and demonstrate how much you can remember or do. But no, I don't call you out. Not with this type of a class. If I was working with somebody privately and they wanted to learn the movement so they could do it on their own, then that would be like the next thing. It's like, okay, let's see. Show me what I just did. And they'd be like, huh? And then their brain recalibrates and they're like, okay, wait, I got to think, what did we do to start? And then I go and I start, and then they start to connect the dots a little bit. Problem with when we do just a follow-along class, you're kind of at the mercy of what I'm doing unless you're taking it upon yourself to think and like, okay, I know what he's doing. That's, brush knee. That's strum the guitar. I know what's coming up next. And some of you might do that. And you start to play that game where you're like, I know what's coming next. I'm doing it, Jim. I'm not waiting for you. So there's all these different levels of development, physical and mental. That stuff I was talking about, all the chatter, the news, the gossip, social stuff, politics, weather, that's what we call the inner dialogue, or the incessant dialogue, or the monkey mind. It's like your mind's jumping all over the place. That's why they call it the monkey mind. In yoga, I think sometimes they'll refer to it that, or in Ayurveda. Your mind's all over the place, just having fun, jumping around, can't really focus on anything. Whoop, all of a sudden you're doing this stuff and you're thinking about your body and your breathing, and it brings that into like the margins again. So you're not all over the place with your thought. Okay, that was another break. I don't know how much time we got here. 7:02, we're actually at the end of it. We didn't start until a couple minutes after, so if you can stay, I don't know, another couple minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, I'd like to show you this again, and then we'll finish it up, and then decide if you guys want to do this. Yes?
For me, it would be helpful if you turned and allowed me to go with you and mimic you.
Yes.
Instead of the transfer.
So,
You see what I mean?
yeah, some of the earlier stuff, it was really easy to face the other direction because it's very symmetrical, like what we're doing. When we start doing the set, it's a little more challenging. So I can try and do that, and then some of you will go, you'll like squint a little bit at me and go like, okay, we're doing a mirror version, right? So it's like, he's using his left, I gotta use my right. So some people will learn good from doing that. So I do try to mix it up. When I first was looking at this room today, I actually wanted to turn it 90 degrees so you'd all have 1 or 2 more steps when we go side to side with it. Again, if we do this, I hope everybody shows up. I hope 20 more people show up, because then we would have to make other adjustments to make it so we could do this. Maybe 2 classes or 2 times, or do it out in the parking lot or something. But I'll make the adjustments so that you guys aren't bumping into each other so much with whatever I'm showing you to do. So we can do that first thing again with me facing you. You can see a little bit how this would work. So here's our opening again. All the way back to the beginning part of class, right? So I really can't say, like right now, what each part, left hand, right hand, I'll start confusing everybody. So if you watch what I'm doing, and like if I'm shifting this way, that's the way you go. Shift the other way, that's the way we go. You're all figuring this out right now.
Now I'm confused. I can't do it the other way.
We'll try it though, all right? So that was that first part.
I have no idea. Now I'm like messed up.
All right, so that's as far as we went that way. I'm going to do it the other way again. And again, some of you will recalibrate your brain like, okay, so.
She's in my way.
I'm sorry.
I know some of you in the back, it's going to be the hardest, but the ones that are like right on my sides, it's not as bad because you can kind of see from the sides. All right, so if we were going to finish it up, I'm just going to make some space again. We go back to this thing, remember? Opening and closing the door, ringing a bell, whatever kind of hits your mind that it's time to like wrap it up. Each breath is slower, and really what we're trying to do is, with the arm gestures, bring the blood and the oxygen back up to the top of our body, our brain, and then you push down, you squish your stomach back, let the breath out, and then relax. So just to give you a little bandwidth, like, okay, we did a lot of physical stuff. I talked a little bit about anatomy and physiology. The spiritual part, And I said it's more like self-awareness. Don't get into religion stuff. Get into thinking about you and yourself. So when we do all this stuff at the end here, the idea is that like children, they got a lot of energy in their feet, right? Gosh, you're around grandkids or little kids, like, where do they get all this energy? And then they crash. But they got a lot of physical energy, and then they burn out, right? So that's energy in our feet. So philosophically, in traditional Chinese medicine, they believe that a lot of the energy when you're young is in your feet, in the lower part of the body. And as you get older, that comes up. And then you start having more of the energy in the center part of your body with the organs as they develop. And then by the time we get older, the energy is more up in your head. And that's what I'm talking about, that inner dialogue, the incessant dialogue, always thinking about stuff that's bothering you and stressing that. And then it's like your head wants to explode, literally, because that's where you're storing the energy. So when we're doing all this stuff with the hand movements and the breathing, we're really trying to get the energy moving from our feet to our fingertips. Trying to get your feet to feel warm, maybe a little sweaty, your hands warm, a little sweaty, and then if your mouth is closed, you should feel your mouth is moist. You shouldn't be like, gosh, my mouth's dried out, I gotta get that water. If you're breathing mostly through your nose. So the thought, again, when we finish this, aside from moving the blood and the oxygen to the top of my body, that's like my energy. And they call it Qi in traditional Chinese medicine, martial arts, Tai Chi. So it's like I'm bringing the energy up to here, but it's already here. It's all my energy in my head. And then I'm trying to bring it down, like underwater. You're pushing it underwater, and that's your navel. So you're trying to store it back down here. We're kind of late in the game. We're not going to get the energy back to our feet. We're not kids anymore. We don't have that energy in our feet anymore, but we can get it back down to the organs. So the theory, again, is too much energy in your head. It's kind of like leaving the microwave on with nothing in it. It's going to burn out and it's going to spark and stuff, right? So too much energy up here, not good. More energy in the organs, that's really where you want it to be. So a lot of the traditional Chinese medicine, it's not the physiology like we look at it with American medicine, the blood and the oxygen. It's Qi and meridians and how the energy goes through the body. And I can talk about that stuff in quite a bit of detail. And you, I'm sure, that's what you do, right? So we can get into that, but not today. So pushing the energy down so that we can store it back where we need it down here. That's kind of what we're doing if you look at it on that level. So at the end of my classes, what I like to do is clap, not for me, but all for you. And again, it's a way to signify that we're finishing the class. So you clap for yourselves that you did something for the hour that you were here. Yay, clap, right?